You don't expect to need it. Not here. Not in a place of worship. This is a sanctuary, a safe haven. This is where your community of believers gather in peace. But evil doesn't care about intentions, sanctity, buildings, pews, or stained glass. It walks through the same doors and it gives no warning. When it strikes, it leaves a trail of regret. I didn't think it could happen to me. And then it does. But there are two realities that we see. The ones of apathy, tragedy, and destruction, and the ones of triumph when a capable protector stepped up to face evil head on. Our actions are a reflection of our faith, a love of humanity so deep that we are willing to do what it takes to protect those who are innocent. We do not prepare out of fear, rather out of a deep passion for those we call brothers and sisters. We honor God's creation by preparing to protect it.
The idea of carrying a rifle in a backpack is controversial. Every time that I discuss the idea of carrying a concealable rifle, I see a wide array of comments from people of all different walks. There's people who understand our right to do so, but they might not necessarily consider it in their life. And then you have folks who are repulsed by this idea of carrying a rifle concealed in any manner for any reason. And I may never change their minds because those folks are completely closed off to what I believe are the realities of our world. Then there are people who are more open-minded and they understand that I come to my position because of a love of people and humanity, and I just simply desire to stack the deck in my favor as much as possible to be as capable as possible. Church security is no different. In fact, if there was ever a strong argument for backpack rifles, I believe church is one of the strongest. Now, I know that this will potentially be a very divisive topic simply because the idea of self-defense has mixed responses among Christians and Christian church members in general. But for today, I'm not diving into my full theological position or even my full reasoning. But if you want to see us do sort of a deep dive into that, let us know down in the comments, and maybe our team can compile a video that specifically addresses faith and the defense of life. We are no strangers to taking strong positions, and I believe that you should consider carrying a concealed rifle with you when you attend church. And in my opinion, Christianity should actually point you towards preservation of innocent life, not away from it, as many Christians would say. And every year we see threats to churches, and that's because historically churches are soft targets. They're usually very unprotected. They are prime targets for several reasons. They are often full of unarmed people. The number of people is usually very large, and you are gathered in small areas inside the church. Most churches are a funnel and a sanctuary, meaning most people come in from one entrance and leave in the same way. Often the lighting is very dim, and churches often have this misguided mindset that bad things will never happen to them and that God will not allow it to happen to their church. Christianity is abrasive in the face of the ways of the world in general, which also brings attacks toward churches. And faith can drive people to justify apathy and inaction, resulting in further risk for churchgoers. There's recently an attack in Michigan that was effectively stopped by a church security team as one example of successfully stopping an attack. And I'm a huge advocate of having church security teams that are organized and well trained, but therein lies the problem. Church security teams often have a few major pitfalls. They have very good intentions, but the members are not well trained with firearms or especially first aid. Speaking of training, if you're looking for a cardboard target that's gonna have your back and your front, check out our C-Zone cardboard targets that are now available on our website. This is a product that I'm super excited to release to the public because it has dot drills, diamonds for zeroing rifles, elevation drills for rifles, a 6-inch, 8-inch circle, as well as a 4-inch triangle. And on the back, we've got more of a standard style scoring zone like you would see on USPSA targets. This is much less money than the standard USPSA targets, and it gives you better training value while you're out there trying to become a better member of your community or someone who's more prepared. So if you're looking for something like that, check this out on our website. We're gonna put a link down in the description. Also check out the rest of our website. We've got the shot timers, steel targets, target bases, and everything in between. Check it out, support us. Back to it. Many are not trained at all. While being aware and having clear lines of communication can certainly help, once a shooter or an attacker is inside of the building, good intentions and good desires will have no effect against that person unless you have the tools and training to respond. Most churches that are considering a security team are going to also face some considerable pushback from some of the church members. This is especially true for traditional style churches or churches and congregations that believe in total pacifism. Similar to the argument against firearms for schools because of this visual perception of armed security at schools, Christians will also state that it's a sanctuary, not a fortress. You also have the moral consideration of self-defense and understanding its biblical allowance in order to even come to a place where you might accept that preserving innocent life is in fact righteous. Again, if you would like me to dive deep theologically into this at some point, our team would consider it, but that's not necessarily the general point of this video. What I'm saying is there are Christians that truly believe that if they are brought to death or a threat is presented to them or their children or their families are violently confronted in a shooting or an attack, that God willed it upon their lives and that their duty and obedience to Him is total pacifism. And I vehemently disagree with that ideology and that position on pacifism, but I do agree that God is sovereign and that we may not understand why He allows bad things to happen to us, but He also gives us this ability to protect those who are innocent. And there's this heart of a warrior inside of us that is allowing us to be able to face evil and keep it away from our congregation and especially our children. One of the questions in your mind right now at this point in this video might be, are you talking to me, Jared, the individual guy going to church with my family, or are you specifically focusing in on church security teams? I'm going to say that in this particular video, I'm really talking to both parties. When we're talking about the threats to churches, understand that it is a really good idea if your church has a church security team. But if it does not, and you are still attending that church, then I believe that the personal responsibility falls on me as an individual, and I can't outsource that to a church security team, especially one that may not be well trained or may not even be armed. So I do think that as an individual, you should be paying attention to this video. Take my thoughts and my opinions with a grain of salt. Maybe they don't align perfectly with you. Maybe they're not going to fit into your own lifestyle, but weigh them and consider them against the threats that churches face. And also the other thing I wanted to just encourage people with is I'm not advocating that you ditch your sidearm and just go with a rifle. What I am saying is that there is an application here where a rifle makes a lot of sense. However, you can still be effective with your sidearm. So if you are well trained in carrying a sidearm, everything I'm about to talk about regarding the why of a bag gun and the specific loadout that I carry on a Sunday morning does not take away from the fact that I still carry a concealed handgun, and I still think that that's a viable option. I'm just trying to teach you a method and a way that may stack the deck in your favor, make you more capable and better prepared to face the threats of this world, if that makes sense. We're all about equipping you with tools that are gonna help you become a more capable provider and protector. So if you are at this point in the video and you're thinking, you know what, I should be building out a bag for myself to house a rifle or a concealed pistol, I've got some good news for you. Check out our website, tatargets.com, and you can get the bag of your dreams set up in a way to carry your everyday carry gear, your rifle or pistol, and your important medical equipment on your body every single day. This bag is my transit sling. We have these on the website, as well as a couple other offerings from Vertx. So if you're looking for that bag, we're gonna put a link down in the description. You can shop those, select which one is going to fit your needs, and then get it in the cart, get it shipped out your way, and then start building out your everyday carry loadout today. So let's talk about the reasons for owning and operating, carrying, training, and building out a backpack with a rifle. The first thing that I want to talk about is probably something you're not even thinking about, and that is that backpacks allow you to carry more medical gear. And that to me is priority number one. If you've ever tried to carry medical gear on body, you realize that it's very difficult to have ample medical gear on your body concealed. Yes, there's ankle carriers. Yes, you can wear some stuff on your belt. But at the end of the day, a full trauma kit is very difficult when you are trying to do it on body. And because of all of those threats to churches that I just talked about, we should be considering as individuals, even if you say no way to the rifle, we should be saying yes to the medical gear and medical training, because that truly is the game changer if there is an attack after it is dealt with. You need the gear on hand to be able to deal with that. So backpacks allow us to carry that medical gear in a much higher capacity, so we're not just carrying an individual trauma kit, we can also carry one for other people so we can take care of our friends, our family, and the rest of our community. Specifically on the rifle itself, a rifle that is a covert micro rifle will allow you to do a couple things better than a pistol. Typically, it's going to be easier to shoot, and that's because you have more contact points with the rifle and your body. So the accuracy, the capability of that particular weapon is going to often be better than a concealed pistol. On top of that, you have a rifle caliber. So with my particular 300 Blackout, I'm shooting a 300 Blackout projectile. It is much larger, it's going much faster than a 9mm. I should say it's not much larger, but it's much heavier than a 9mm, going several hundred feet per second faster. On top of that, it is easier for me at distance to shoot it. So why that matters is because when we're in sanctuaries, typically we're looking at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, sometimes 80 or 90 yards from corner to corner of a large sanctuary. And obviously there's people, obviously there's considerations. Understand that this is not a video about training you to respond with a rifle. I'm simply stating the reasons why I think it's important and how they stack the deck in our favor. So those considerations are real, but if you were presented with a shot that's 65 yards, can you even do that with your concealed weapon? And the answer for most people, and if I'm being honest, oftentimes including myself, is not really. I might not be able to pull that shot off safely, which might mean I may not be able to take that shot. So a rifle gives you the ability to engage with more predictability, more accuracy, more stability, and with better ballistics downrange. Further, when we look at church security teams, those reasons justify a church security team having some appointed riflemen in that security team. So you might have some of your people with pistols or even just radios so that communication can happen, but you may have rifles in a backpack that are kept on body on that individual all the time throughout the services so that specific individuals would be able to respond at those distances. And further, when we're talking about rifles, we've got better ammunition capacity, which means we have more rounds on hand, which might be important depending on the kind of attack that is happening. Further, when we look at how mass shooters typically will attack any kind of gathering, they're often wearing body armor. Most of the time, believe it or not, even though the news says otherwise, it's with pistols or shotguns or similar weapons, but there are many cases where the shooter has a rifle, which gives them the ability to engage at really far distances. And remember, they don't care about the damage that they cause because any innocent bystander is a target for them. So being able to respond to a shooter with that is operating a rifle and might even have body armor or a helmet or something like that on, when we're talking about the possibility of armor, pistols are just not enough. Level 3A armor defeats pistols. It may not even make the shooter phase or blink or even react, but you start punching them with 130 grain 300 Blackout, it changes the dynamic a little bit. So you have this ability to respond even to a heavily armed attacker inside of the church. And the last thing, which is, in my opinion, it's not really as valid, but it's still a point. If you can respond quickly and you can respond aggressively and immediately, I'm talking within seconds, and you have people with rifles returning fire back at that shooter or that attacker, it changes the dynamic. There are many cases where this has happened, whether it's police or it's an armed individual, that as soon as the rifles come out and you start engaging that shooter, they either give up or they get shot dead. So this really does level the playing field in a way that I feel sidearms just simply cannot. But sidearms and a good plan and good training is going to be better for that church security team or that individual than no guns at all, if you catch my drift. So let's talk about my personal loadout, what I carry on a Sunday morning, the bag that I use, and some of the gear that I have with me. Now, I want to be very clear here as I'm talking about this. There's a million ways to do this. This is only one option. This bag is not necessarily going to be perfect for every situation, every person. Where you are at, your environment, the way you dress, the way other people dress, how you blend in is going to be very different for you potentially. I go to a more modern church, so you have everybody from the guy wearing shorts and t-shirt to, yeah, there might be a guy in a suit, but everything in between. So walking in with a backpack, especially because I have children, is not something that raises red flags. It's not something that should get people concerned. Many people have bags, purses, things like that, diaper bags. But if you have the right micro carry setup, walking in with it or walking in public with it is not going to raise alarms because it is a normal size bag. If I had a huge hiking pack, that might be a problem. People might look at that and say, oh, that's weird. Would they say, oh, there's a rifle in that? Maybe not, but they would look at it and say, that looks off. And we're trying to not look off. So I would dress the way that I normally do, and this is the Transit Sling 2.0. This is the bag that I carry with every Sunday. So let's talk about the first pouch, which has my medical inside of here. I have a medical kit from Live the Creed, and I'll put links to all of this stuff that we have on our site. We may not have everything on our site, but whatever we do have on the site, I will put on there as well. But this is the responder IFAK that I have in the main compartment here. We've got a Gen 7 cat tourniquet here. We've got another Gen 7 cat tourniquet here. And I also have one or two of these base med kits. These are kind of like a supplemental kit, more of a boo-boo kit, but I keep them in the bottom of the bag as well so that I always have things like Band-Aids, because you just don't know when your child is going to trip and fall on the sidewalk on the way into church and be bleeding everywhere. You know, these are medical kits that solve even normal problems, but we have the ability to do some basic trauma care as well to try to save lives in the event of something horrible happening. And the other thing that I'll say is my wife also carries a backpack setup. And so there's double the medical when we are going into church. So that's 4 tourniquets minimum. It's 2 of the responder IFAK kits, at least 2 of the base med kits, and these are spread between our 2 bags. So that gives us the ability to respond in a better and more capable way than if we had no medical or only 1 bag worth of medical. And I cannot stress it enough. Just like you should be getting trained with your rifle, your security team should be getting trained with rifles and pistols, you also should be going and seeking that medical training as well, because that's where the lives truly can be saved. And believe it or not, you can save more lives than you'd realize with a tourniquet and an understanding of how to stop bleeding. So moving into the main compartment over here, this front compartment is where I will keep the 300 blackout. And this particular setup is oriented in a way that it is basically presented exactly the way that it needs to be when I swing the bag around my body. So if you ever saw any footage of me drawing from this bag, as soon as I swing the bag around my body, you can see me grab the zipper, and then this is exactly where it needs to be. I simply flip the stock out, and now I have a rifle ready to go. Now I know some people are gonna question, and I'm gonna address this real quick, should I carry chambered, should I not carry chambered? The thing is, one of the firearm rules is never point a firearm at anything you don't intend to destroy or shoot. And so the question you have to answer is, where is this thing gonna be pointed? When you have it in a bag, the trigger is not completely protected. If you have a pistol in a holster, the trigger is completely protected. So because of that, I've shifted my mindset, and I typically actually will carry without the round chambered in rifles, knowing full well that after I draw, I have to rack the rifle and load that first round. But because of the nature of how I carry it in a bag, I personally feel like that's the right move. You can make your own decisions based on your loadout, your rifle, and all of that good stuff. But going down through this is my 5-inch 300 blackout. This is a Vertx tactical upper receiver. It's a 5-inch heavy profile barrel, heavy profile gas block. It's very tiny. We'll put some of the specs on the screen and down in the description. I also have older blogs where I talked about this. I don't know if Vertx Tactical makes the 5-inch 300 blackout uppers anymore, but you can get them from SLR Rifle Works. And I know that Todd makes amazing stuff. And I believe at the time they were in partnership with each other where SLR helped with some of the manufacturing. I'm not entirely sure, but this 5-inch 300 blackout upper receiver runs like crazy. It does amazing. I've got a Silencer Co. ASR flash hider on the front here, which can accept my suppressor. When we're talking about backpack carry, I don't care as much about my suppressor, but it does have the ability to be suppressed. This gun will run supersonic or subsonic unsuppressed as well. I've got a Surefire X300V, because I do use this gun with night vision sometimes. I've got a Vortex Spark Solar. The trigger in here is a Geisley. It's the SD3G trigger. We have one of the larger paddle, I guess bolt locks you would call it. I've got a Law tactical folder. Because this thing is so short, I have 2 Neomag Sentry straps on it that'll help keep the sling in good order. And then obviously we have a Law tactical folder. And when we're talking about the grip and the stock, it's just Magpul furniture. It's nothing fancy, no fancy charging handle. Nothing else is really crazy on this particular build. But This is the kind of build that you can set up that allows you to have this on your body anywhere, no matter where you're going or where you're traveling, inside of a very discreet bag. And that just further increases your capabilities, whether you're going to church, the movies, or just going back and forth to work. I know a lot of people are pretty sold on this idea of having a rifle in their vehicle for travel or going back and forth to the range or whatever, property protection, things like that. And there's a lot of folks that'll throw loose rifles in their vehicles as well. And the other thing that I want to just point out to you is that's fine, it's your right to do it. But if you're ever in a situation where your vehicle breaks down, having a rifle that is tailored for a backpack that can fit in a bag in your vehicle also gives you the ability to abandon the vehicle and get out of wherever you're going, jump in a tow truck, get an Uber, whatever it might be, without having a rifle. You know, I was using the joke the other day that if you're in some national park and you have a rifle and your vehicle breaks down, it's probably not gonna be very proper for you to be walking down the road with an AR-15 because your vehicle broke down. But if you have a tiny little bag like this and you're on vacation and you need some personal protection, having a backpack like this could be a good option for you to allow you to move to where you need to go to be able to transport that rifle without raising any alarm. So there are so many more reasons to do this than just the church carry, than just going to the mall or the movie theater protection, or even just your personal protection in your house. This is a very capable setup that can expand your ability to protect life. I want to leave you with a couple thoughts. First of all, I think that your church should have a church security team. If you don't have that, you should be considering that. If you already have a church security team, but they're not armed, I think you're missing a major component. Your church security team should be armed and well-trained with firearms, but also and especially medical gear in the event of an attack. And if you already have that dialed in, you've got your firearms training, your medical training, I think that a bag rifle like what I showed you today would be a good fit in a couple places in your church with strategic individuals that can secure the rifle, have them on body and in control at all times. And I know a lot of you are already saying this in your head, Jared, you must be so scared. I want to rebuke you with this one thing. This is not about fear. This is about a deep love of people and a desire to protect innocent life. And it also does not diminish from my faith in God. I have and I put my trust and faith in God, but I also believe that it's my duty to do whatever's necessary to protect innocent life because of that love of people. So there is not an ounce of fear in my body that drives me to take actions like a backpack gun. This is about that broader duty. And I want to encourage you guys all to learn more and to go seek training as individuals. I know that the laws in some states may tell you that you can't do this. You guys have to do all of your own research. You have to figure all that out for yourself. But if you decide to go down this route, I want to encourage you to do it responsibly. Do it in that love of people, your family, your community, the people around you. Do it for those reasons, not because you are scared. Become that asset, become a protector, become capable, seek that professional training, not just in firearms, but also medical gear, so that in the event that the worst case scenario happens to your church and an attack descends upon it, you have the right group of people and the right community to respond to it swiftly and immediately so you can save innocent lives from unnecessary death. So I want to know what you all think. Am I over the top? Was this a topic that has engaged thoughts in your mind? Because that was my goal. My goal was to create a conversation here, one that maybe we'll build out upon over time. Let us know down in the comment section what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the video as always. And also check out the links in the description if you want to support what we do here at TA Targets. That's the best way to do it. We have links to training gear, different target systems, the medical gear, the bags, all of the stuff we're talking about. So if you want to show some monetary support to us, that is a fantastic way to do that. It helps support our entire team. And in turn, we get to make content like this that can help give you guys some ideas, maybe some insight, and also provoke some thoughts in your own mind, challenge some of the norms that we see in our society today. And I deeply appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section. Let us know how we can help you. See you in the next one.